Unathi, can you please share with us about the social workers who have mentored you?
Thank you so much. For me, when I went to university, I knew what I wanted to do, even if I did not know the course, but I knew that I wanted something to do with people. I want to work with people. Then when I went to the university, then they told me the courses. I said that
we need to mute somebody. Vuyo, can I ask you to mute yourself? Thank you. Sorry, Unathi.
Then when I was told in the university that these are the courses that are available, those were the nurses and all that, so this is the one that I want to work with, I want to do social work. Then when I arrived here in the department 2006, since then I worked the same office up until now. The people that the supervisors and the whole team, the unique team that welcome, because I think I was the only one who was very, very young, because they were, all of them, they were old. The way they taught me work, the way they taught me how to do counseling, the way they taught me how to present in court, I think I owe to them, all of them, the whole team. I don't have a specific someone that I can say that this one, but the whole team of UNIC contributed a lot to me to be this social worker that I am today. I will forever be grateful for that. You know, they will tell you that, you know, the files, how to keep the files. The files are the lives of the clients. If you see the file, this brown file, you must know that you are seeing the client that came to ask for assistance from you. Even if the client is not here, but when you see the file, you must be reminded that this file is that person. You know, they will encourage you. You know, sometimes there will be cases that you will feel like, this case, I think it's too much for me. Let me make an example, the case of rape. They will give you, they will tell you that, no, you are a social worker. It has been confirmed that you are a social worker. You must deal with each and every case. There's no case that you say that this case I cannot deal with. They gave me that thing, and now it motivated me that whatever case that comes to me, I must be able to deal with that case. If the case, I cannot be able to do the case, they always open their offices to consult that this is a case that I'm dealing with. Now I'm here. I don't know how to move further with the case. They will tell you that this is how you handle the case. This is how you approach it. Then when the client comes for the second time, at least now you have strength. You know what is it that you can do. Because what is important that the client, you put the client first and you assist the client to the level that is able to see his or her life changed, is able to stand on his or her own, is able to do things that he never thought he would do because he has met a social worker that was able to assist him or her. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Unathi. We know we're running a bit late, but thank you for staying with us. To all our participants, we are going to be wrapping up soon. We just have a couple more questions for both our icons, and then after that, we will have a we will have a final poll. So if you can just bear with us a little bit longer, we will greatly appreciate that. Vuyo, can you share with us why you feel inclusion is important in a society that often discards those or what is different? Tell me what drives you to be a champion of inclusion.
As a Black community, I will start there because most of the exclusion at times comes from us. I'll speak from where I'm born and from where I live. Most of us were taught by our families, Ubuntu. Ubuntu has no color. Ubuntu has no sexual orientation. Ubuntu says you help a person for who they are. You start where the person is at. I think in order for our community to go back to where we were in terms of our morals, in terms of bringing the integrity back to our community, we start with Ubuntu. If one person can start being helpful to others just because of who they are, you don't look good to they're coming from a rich family. You don't look good to they're coming from a poor family, but you're helping a person because they are a human being. That's what drives me. As long as I'm able to display that I'm a person and I'm a human, and being a human means I'm able to recognize another person as a human being, then I would say that inclusion is important. Then if you're able to say inclusion is important, then you're able not to look at the person because of where they're coming from. We should not be discussing inclusion in our society, but we should be discussing Ubuntu Kuti. Where does it start? It starts in our homes, it goes to our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thanks, Vuyo. Unathi, what motivates you to be a change agent in your community?
Thank you. What motivates me to be a change agent in my community is to better the lives of the members of the community. Seeing young people struggling with the work, the unemployment, struggling to put food on the table. And what I believe is that there's no problem or challenge that cannot be fixed. What motivates me is that the young person that I see today, the way he is, in 5 years to come, I don't want to see that client, that community member on the same state. The best way is to work with that person to better his own life. So that at the end of the day, so that I was down, but I'm not down anymore. And with that, when he's up there, he'll be able to look for the other people so that he can be able to assist those people. So that you know that even if you're not here, but you have developed other workers that can be able to do the work whilst you are busy with other areas. That what motivates me, that assist the members of the community to better their lives on their own. Because they can do that, but they need you as a social worker or a community agent. They need you to say that this is possible. It can be done. Let's sit together and see and try all the strategies that we can come up with so that the challenge that we are facing can be able to deal with as the community. So that one day we see a better community, a community that is free from drugs, a community that is free from crime. Because the people that commit all these social ills are within the community. And the people that will be able to eliminate all these social ills are the very same community members. That they need someone to work with them so that we can be able to protect and preserve our beautiful community. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Unathi. This is the final question. It's for both our icons, but we'll start with you, Unathi. I'm sure both of you have stories, amazing stories of young people who've overcome more odds than any of us can imagine. And these stories are what fuel your passion, and they keep you going despite all the challenges that you've shared with us, all the potholes that you meet along the way. Can you each tell me about the story that makes sure that you wake up each morning, every morning when you wake up, you jump out of bed with fire burning in your belly? When you think of that story, you're just like, this is why I do this work. Unathi?
Thank you so much. I once worked as a generic social worker where we were doing foster care. I had a client that he was using substance abuse. He was studying in the high school, but he was using substance abuse, then the grandma will always come to my office and tell me that, hey, this child is not going to school, this child is using this. Then I sat down with the client. Then I asked him, where do you see yourself in 10 years to come? Then the client cried. I said, no, you just tell me where do you want to see? Then he said that I'm seeing myself having a family. Then I asked, do you think with the life that you are living now, will you be able to do that? Will you be able to live the life that you want to live? I said, no, that you need to change. Now I can assist you this far, but when you can push yourself beyond. I think it was, I'm not sure whether 3 or 4 before, I think before COVID, someone came to my office, and to be honest, I could not even recognize him. Then I thought it was someone that wanted to assist him. Then we said, you forgot about me. I said, hey, to be honest, yes, I forgot about. I said, I'm that client that came to you. I'm your client who put me on foster care. Hey, I was so amazed. And now I'm a soldier. I've married. I've got 2 children. The way I was so happy that, as I'm saying that there's no challenge, there's no problem that you face that you cannot be able to deal with. Each and every problem, each and every challenge that we face, there's always a solution for that. But we need to come up with strategies. We need to sit down and do introspection that what is it that is wrong that I'm doing? How can I change my situation for better? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Unathi. Vuyo, you, and then we are going to share some of the feedback that's on the chat on Facebook. But Vuyo, please share with us the story of what keeps the fire burning in your belly.
I've got 2 stories that I'm going to share. First one was of a young white male, age he was, sorry about that. He was found on the streets.
We've lost you again, Vuyo. It's just that your mic is muted. You can come back.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes. All right. There was a young male, 24 years old, 24, 25 years old from Utrecht. He was found on the streets in Utrecht. He was living there for a while. He came to the shelter very quiet. We thought everything was fine. We used to call him David Beckham because he looked like David Beckham. All to find out as time passed, he was schizophrenic and he was getting treatment. He became violent in the shelter. Everybody else told me now to take him out of the shelter, but my heart would not allow me. We then made attempts to find a clinic. He was then given his medication. He went back to his medication. But time went by, he then relapsed because he had used drugs. He then went to Doranginza hospital. He was hospitalized for a period of 3 weeks and he came back to the shelter. When he came back to the shelter, we had conversation because I kept on going to Doranginza visiting him. We had conversations in terms of how he wants to change his life. If I could tell you today, if you could see him today, I was shocked to get a friend request.
We've lost you. You can unmute.
Sorry, man. It's the network, guys. Sorry. We then I had a friend request on Facebook, and I saw the name on Facebook, and I accepted because he had then been reunified with his mother and his stepfather. When I saw him, he sent me pictures of where he was working. He has started a job as a truck driver of all things. A truck driver He's having his own flat. He has started a fresh life for himself. And I had asked him, are you still on drugs? He said, no, I made a decision, a conscious decision, when I had conversations with you in terms of what I want to achieve for my life and what he wanted for his family. The next story that I have is of same shelter, a guy we call Ndura at the shelter. Ndura came there as someone who didn't listen. He would run away from the shelter, escape every night. You know those ones. We know that every weekend they are going to run away. For sure, he's going to run away. But I called his sister and I said to him, what it is that you want in your life exactly, in order for you to find stability. Then he had said to me, he wants to make peace with his sister because both parents are deceased and the only family he has was his sister. Then I called his sister and I spoke to her. I mediated so that they can have a relationship again. They set a family conference and the sister forgave him. But she said, I don't want you to come live with me, but I want you to build a life for yourself. The guy, it was a 360-degree change after the family conference. I had said to him, I'm going to put you on probation. I want to see you change and push and believe in yourself that you want to have a better life for yourself. He started washing cars of people coming in the shelter. He started cleaning shoes of people. You know, he would run every time there's people who are bringing donations at the shelter to assist. He collected money to have his own ID. He went and did his ID without me knowing. He brought me his ID when the ID came out and showed me. They used to call me Mama Vuvu. Mama Vuvu, look at my ID. I did this and I got my own ID. It was one of the first person who got a job as an EPWP at the shelter. He was one of the first person in the shelter to get his own flat, to buy his own things with his own money that he didn't steal from anybody, because he would show me his tattoos. He showed me his gun wounds because he used to sell drugs in Costin. There's a place called Costin in the Nelson Mandela. So he would show me all these guys and the tattoos and the meanings behind the tattoos. But when you look at him today, you will never say it's that person that went into the shelter. So the impact that you will see in the people's lives and the change that one makes, that gives us great joy as social workers. It's more than the peanuts that we get for salaries, but the joy that we have to see our clients reaching their self-reliance and being get to self-actualization in order to achieve what they need for their own lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone who stayed with us. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's been so amazing. It just, it speaks to my heart because this is why I do the work that I do within my community and multiple communities that I have worked with over the years. Like Vuyo and Unathi say, it's not just the impact that we make as community workers on the communities that we serve, but it's also the impact that each and every one that we encounter, how they change our lives as they change their own lives. Simpiwe Nelani says, great stuff. Faithful civil servants, you're doing extraordinary work. I am touched with the kind of work that you're doing. Continue with the strength you are given. As someone involved in the developmental arena, I guess one can partner with you in terms of giving support to your clients who are interested in the agricultural industry. Simpiwe, we do hope that you will share details that we can share with the icons so that they can share with their communities. And then Dudu Matebula, Unathi, your work is really commendable. It is really inspiring. Everyone can do something for their community. And then we have a Facebook comment from Bongani Dosini Ngaba. I don't have a question, but I just want to say big up to my colleagues for the excellent work they do every day. With that, we would like to thank everybody who has stayed with us. It has been a little bit longer than we had anticipated, but we had to give space and acknowledge the work of these two great icons, civil servants who are rank and file, as it was said at the beginning of our webinar. These are people who, as Vuyo says, get paid peanuts, but their passion is what keeps them doing the work that they're doing and making a contribution not only to their communities, but to South Africa as a whole. And we hope that every social worker who is listening or who may come across this webinar can understand what it takes to make a difference in a client's life. Like Vuyo said, you can't separate the human being that you are and the profession that you have chosen. Thank you again for joining us this evening. Can I please ask colleagues to put up our final poll before I hand over and we can close this evening? I think we'll give it another couple of seconds and then we can close. And as we finish with the poll, I'd like to hand over to the country director of Accountability Lab, Sikutlane. Thank you for asking me to hold space this evening. And as we close, finally to you so that you can close us out.
Thank you so much, Nandi. And thank you also, Unathi and Vuyokazi. I'm actually on the verge of tears just listening to these stories that you're sharing, listening to your accounts of being in the field and the impact that you are making under the tremendously difficult circumstances that you work within, but with such commitment and such care and such intentionality. I don't think it's lost on any of us on this webinar or in our society, just how austerity is eroding our society amidst all of the other social ills, but the austerity program that we are seeing globally and certainly in our country. We also see how negatively or how badly impacted the caring professions are by these austerity principles and austerity policies. The caring professions, I'm talking about social work, I'm talking about the medical work that's done by our doctors, our nurses, and importantly, our community health facilitators, people on the ground who go out into the villages, remote parts of the country, difficult to access places that our social workers today also have shared about. These are the people who suffer the most because they don't have the resources, they don't have the support that they need, and they also don't have the recognition that they deserve for the immensely important work that they do. So before we leave today, I'd really like for us to really just think about and hold all of these people in our hearts and think about how we can bring ourselves and our whole hearts and our whole selves to be part of a movement to push back against austerity policies and to support the local heroes, especially our rank and file government workers who are working under difficult circumstances. And because they are people, also get irritable, also get frustrated, and sometimes have to just harden their hearts just a little bit in order to be able to get through the next day. I think today we've learned a lot about how much and how deeply our government workers, and especially our social workers, who don't get to see a lot of limelight, who don't get celebrated, whom we've even forgotten exist. We've learned a lot about how deep they have to go into their hearts in order to be able to take people forward in their lives so that they can become self-sufficient, so that they can reunite with their families, so that they can really be part of and be recognized as productive and appreciated members of our society. This work can't happen in an isolated way. It can't happen because there's a social worker, a machine or a cog in a machine called a social worker somewhere doing something. This work has to be done in community. These amazing, wonderful people who hurt, who experience joy, who demonstrate integrity and tremendous leadership in community with all of us to make our communities better places to be in, to make them whole, so that we can all show and feel that we are people through other people. Boto. So I want to thank you, Unathi and Vuyokazi, for being with us this evening. I want to thank you for the work that you do, the light that you shine in our society on a day-to-day basis, doing the little that you do, which is actually a huge amount that makes a tremendous impact. Because this work, you can only do it step by step, moment to moment, day by day, and you show us that all of us can be part of this. So thank you for your contribution. Thank you for teaching us today, and thank you for giving us your time. Nandi, thank you also so much for taking us through this conversation. I've learned so much as a result of just your ability to hold space in such a delicate and careful way, to bring the most out of our icons, to enable them to just share just how brilliant they are, to share the impact that they make, and also how you've assisted us to learn from each other through the work and through the lives of these two wonderful people, and also through your own life. So thank you so much for being with us this evening and holding space so delicately for us. I also want to thank our team SA, who've worked hard to convene this space. This space can't be possible without you. I really appreciate the contribution that you make. And I believe that our icons, and even Nandi, also appreciates just the time and the care and the contribution you've made to make this space possible. Importantly, I also want to thank the participants who've joined us this evening. Even though we weren't many, I believe that this webinar is really going to live very long, and it's going to gather momentum. And you were here for this moment with us, sharing with us, and we really felt your presence today. So thank you so much for being with us today. And we really encourage you just to share this webinar on Facebook and all your other social media channels that you are on, so that others can join in this wonderful moment, this wonderful space that has been held for us today. Before we leave, I'd like to maybe just share the results of our poll so you can see what has changed as a result of this conversation between when we started and now when we finish. You can see that there have been a little bit of, some big shifts, in terms of people, being neutral or disagreeing with some of the statements that have been made. And now there's been a shift to the agree side. Everyone is agreeing or agreeing somewhat because of what they've heard and what they've learned from the direct experiences and the lives of our icons today. So thank you so much. So just as we leave, I'd like to remind all of us again, the Integrity Icon campaign, the nominations period is going to be closing on the 31st of this month. We really want to encourage you all to please everyone knows a public servant. Everyone knows someone who works in government who is doing something really amazing in their community, in our society, to change things, to make government work for the people. We really want to encourage you all to make your nominations for icons in this last week before we close nominations. Please go onto our website, accountabilitylab.org/South-Africa, or go onto integrityicon.org/South-Africa to then just find the nomination form and make your nomination. Otherwise, if you can't remember those handles, just go onto our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram. The handle is the same everywhere you go. Account Lab SA, and then you'll find all the information you need in order to make a nomination. We really want to give it a last push. And in so doing, and in closing, I'd like for us just to stay 1 minute longer, no more than a minute, just to share this video, just telling us a little bit about what the Integrity Icon campaign is and how to get involved. So as we log off today, And with my thanks for you being here today, please just share in the video, see what we're doing here, share it with your colleagues, your community, your friends, your parents, everyone who is around you, and nominate an integrity icon in your community near you. Thank you.
Accountability Lab South Africa is proud to present Integrity Icon, our flagship campaign to name and fame public servants who model integrity, commitment, and taking personal responsibility. Everyone knows a public servant who goes above and beyond the call of duty to make government work for people and contribute to building a responsibly capable state.
The Integrity Icon is a very important initiative. The project seeks to identify those who dare to demonstrate that it's possible to care, it's possible to serve for its own sake.
On the 24th of March, 2022, we launched this year's Integrity Icon campaign and opened the nominations for the public to name and fame public service heroes in their communities. There are a number of ways to nominate your public service heroes through an online Google form, our WhatsApp line, as well as a hard copy. For further information, follow Accountability Lab South Africa's social media accounts.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.